All right.
Am I in?
Nope. I sent you a new one. I see. Now you got me talking about nonsense. After I got live. Why would you do that to me? Why would you do that to me?
I didn't know that you were online.
I told you I was going live. And then you started talking about something. Episode 5.2. Great power, great responsibility.
Great headache.
Been a stressful day here at the Weldon House.
Not just a VIP room, but in the Weldon House in general.
Had a severe overnight
frost, cold, freezing.
And I guess the heat keeps trouble. It's still struggling. Although we're back up to almost 60 degrees now. But it's cold. It's a little chilly. What's going on? Okay. There. It's Tuesday night.
I figured that out.
Oh, see, we've improved already.
We already did Groundhog Day
last night?
Yeah.
Were you here last night?
Yeah.
Was I here last night?
Apparently not. Physically.
That's news to me.
Do you want me to tell you what we talked about?
Yeah, what did we talk about last night? Okay. It's coming back to me a little bit.
We talked about I have it in my head, but I can't get it out of my mouth.
I don't know. But, we did last night's show. I know we did. It's 5.2. It's great power, great responsibility. Spider-Man used that line. Uncle Ben. Probably said the movie. Toby Maguire movie. With Spider-Man. Uncle Ben was telling his nephew with great power, great responsibility. And it's true. And don't you forget that. People of power forget that. But places where we elect people, we sometimes forget that. We vote people in are not responsible. Yeah, and that's a dangerous thing. You want to make sure that we're voting in people who are responsible, because we're giving them great power. So I think we should have a responsibility to us with freedom of access. You can see on Facebook. We're still 76. Yeah, we did the post-Super Bowl wrap-up. We talked about that. I'm done talking about it. I didn't follow with the NFL show this year. Why am I talking about it? Why do I care? I don't care.
Because it was the most stupid play.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was what it was. I know we didn't do it intentionally to lose the game. It was just he had a small double crossing of the mind.
Is your mic on?
No, I don't ever let me talk anymore.
Sure, because I see your mic on. There, now it's off.
Yeah.
So the whole first part here was a lot of echoing going on. That wasn't my fault. It was nobody's fault. But if it's nobody's fault, it's not my fault. I'm just making that out there. It's not my fault.
I'm not nobody.
Where this is really coming up right now is with the great responsibility, great power thing. It's been in the news a lot lately. Just in general, it's coming up. Politicians trying to make science a political issue. They've been doing this with creationism in the classroom, in science classes, and global warming, global climate change, and then vaccinations now. We got politicians out there trying to make a political issue out of vaccinations rather than a science issue, rather than explain to people how herd immunity works or explain to people about the risks of certain vaccinations. We don't all vaccinate everybody for everything. When the risk of the vaccination outweighs the risk of the disease spreading, we stop giving out vaccinations. We don't vaccinate people for polio, for smallpox. Well, there is no smallpox left in the world as far as we know. Out in the wild, there doesn't seem to be any. Polio, very limited amount of it, but certainly not in the U.S. Other things that, or there's just things that just we don't get here. We don't have to be vaccinated for. Measles, we have to be vaccinated for. Measles is very common. There was for a while, it was not the word they use is endemic. It wasn't endemic to the U.S. for so long. And endemic is this word they use that means that the virus, kind of the disease, whatever it is, lives in the population and outbreaks once in a while. We've had measles cases in the past in the U.S. recently, but those cases were always somebody coming in. They brought the measles with them, and then, oh, we got a measles case in the U.S. Okay. It wasn't a measles case that popped up from somebody from in the U.S. But now we're getting those cases. We're getting, measles are alive and well because people are not vaccinating their kids. They decided that vaccination is a bad idea. Okay, it's fine. You don't want to vaccinate your kids? Then keep your kids away from everybody. Don't bring your kids to Disneyland. I mean, we're looking at 70, 80 cases, 100 cases, I don't know, of measles now because somebody brought their kids to Disneyland without vaccination. And when we're talking about infants under the age of 6 months, they can't be vaccinated. There are people who are allergic to vaccines. They can't be vaccinated. They require everybody else to be vaccinated in order to survive. Think about this. In schools across this U.S., people can't bring peanuts to school. Or peanut butter, peanuts, any of that stuff they can't bring to school. Schools can't serve it because of the children out there that are allergic to peanuts. And in order to protect them, we don't put them around peanuts. We should not have to put our kids around people infected with measles. You don't want to have your kid have measles vaccination? Fine. Keep your kid at home until they're 18, and then we'll figure it out. But don't be not vaccinating your kids and then putting them out there in the world for other people to pick up on the vaccine. And even people who have been vaccinated, and it's true with every vaccine, there's a small possibility, and it varies from case to case, but there's a possibility that even if you've been vaccinated, you can still catch the disease. But the possibility is low enough with the herd immunity that it doesn't get a chance to spread. And so it doesn't really become a problem. With the measles, it's something on the order of like, if you don't have the measles vaccine, you're 70 times more likely to catch measles than if you do have a vaccine. And with enough people vaccinated, the disease can't spread at all, and then you never catch it. But if people stop doing it, it starts spreading, and then now people are going to start catching it. So, but the point there, you get people like Rand Paul. There's a little figure on top of his head here. That's Rand Paul. He's a doctor. Of course, he's an eye doctor, so maybe he's not a real doctor. There's stories about him too within his sort of certification, his hokey certifications for his medical license, medical practice. It's crazy. He's also the son of a doctor who's also a politician. Ron Paul is Rand Paul's father, and family of doctors, they should know better. You don't want to be using your position as a politician to spread bad medicine, especially if you're a doctor. With great power comes great responsibility, and these people are completely ignoring their great responsibility. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, my mind is blown on the people who do this. Like I said, we've seen it with the evolution story, with climate change, and then now with vaccines. It seems like there's a certain group of politicians out there who make their bread and butter, get elected on the platform of being against science, of being ignorant. There's this quote here from James Baldwin. He was a author, writer, poet, passed away in the late 80s. Ignorance allied with power is the most ferocious enemy justice can have. And then that is the truth. When you have people in power, whether or not they're truly ignorant, if they act ignorant, if they act on behalf of ignorance, if they act in conjunction with ignorance, if they support ignorance in their power, they are dangerous to justice. We lose power because of that. Good people end up being shut out from politics. Everything that can go wrong with government can go wrong. James Baldwin nailed it. It's a great quote, and it's just a Spider-Man quote. With great power comes great responsibility. People remember it from Spider-Man. Maybe they don't remember it when James Baldwin said it, but there he is. The band James Baldwin. You can look into some of his work. He's an interesting guy. Yeah, that's him. Okay. All right, maybe we should talk about these solar-powered sea slugs until after we get a chance to talk to our buddy Dutch tonight. See how he's going. I feel like I want to
And
slow
slow
my
my
roll, not get myself on this big too much, too soon, too furious, too fast, too furious. I don't know. There's a quote in there somewhere. Yeah, give us a little rant, Dutch.
See, you can always count on me to be able to slow things down because today, oh man, today was just challenging day. Like you mentioned, woke up a little bit colder than what it is that I would have expected in the first thing in the morning. And we had some heating problems, and everybody's trying to work on it, but it's kind of concerning because the major utility company, National Grid, is like saying things like we might have to shut you down for the majority of the rest of the winter, and things. And we happen to live in a home as to where there's some people who are not able to be moved very easily, and so that's it's kind of concerning, even though that it's not really pressing. And then on top of it, it just happened to be a catalyst for every single thing to be pushed back. For the day, the schedule just kept on being pushed back and back and back and back, and we had a plan as to where we were going to work on something at 2:00 in the afternoon. Things just didn't go right, and we ended up still not even getting that done, because we had other things going on. So today's been a very challenging day, and it was just added to where I had a 2-hour conversation with somebody, and it seemed like that 2-hour conversation somehow didn't turn out the way that I meant for it to, for my side of things to come out. But so that's been challenging. So when you mention things like with great power comes great responsibility, I can really ramp it up. It's just, especially today. There's no question that that's the case, and the fact is that the people in power are not capable of being in power, or they don't have the credibility, they don't have the experience, and they definitely don't have the right frame of mind as what is the priority. The priority is not the lobbyist. It's not the lobbying group that's supporting your campaign in order to be able to get your political views out on their behalf. The priority is the people, and when it comes to like things like situation with the measles and stuff like that, I mean, I'm all for people, having their lives and having their decisions of their lives. I'm not for them making decisions for themselves that are consequences for others. And I dare say the word common sense, which is often not thought of in the political realm of things, and in fact, it seems to be opposite of. So when it comes to this situation with the measles and everything, I think it's a travesty for those who are affected who really didn't deserve to be. I personally have had what's called the 5th disease, so I had all 5 childhood diseases at once. That was fun. So even still, so I was basically quarantined for a while. And for good reason. My uncle wasn't allowed to be near me. My uncle, because he didn't have the chicken pox, so he wasn't allowed to be near me. That was just a common sense thing. It would have been, would have been a definite consequence if he was, possibly. And it's the same thing here. It's like, okay, you decided not to give the vaccinations towards your child, and you have some sort of core value or core belief in doing that. But what is the benefit to the child? Because the child now has measles. And now the child's now responsible for giving other children measles. And is now a national, if not worldly, story. And that they're part of. So do they think of that when they make this choice? Or is it just a headstrong choice that comes from their core belief?
I can say no if I want to, and
It's your show.
but it's
But
they can stop.
the decision, the parents or guardian or whatever that made the decision not to get the vaccine wasn't thinking ahead. They didn't mean for 70 people to end up with the measles, but they didn't think about that being a possibility. They had their own individualistic thought and belief and ran with it, and not realizing that individualistic thought does have consequences that can be a ripple effect for many, many people outside of them.
Yeah.
And it's an unfortunate situation.
Did jerk a little bit. It was added. No, I think it's all done. I think my mic's back on.
Yeah.
It was a yip. I went and I pushed it, but I tried to push it once. Although it's showing me now that I don't have my mic on.
You're definitely on.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Oh. Yeah, you're on this one.
This mic is off.
We need another computer.
Need another computer. We're still looking at you though. So let me put me up. That's me. Hey, this is the wrong me. This is the me I want to put up. Hey, solar-powered slugs. I imagined it. It looks almost like a leaf. Oh no, it's a slug. But it's this slug that evolution happens lots of different ways. I mean, it's mutation is kind of the catch-all word, but it's a little bit more complicated than just a simple gene mutating. You could have things like, this is an example of it, what's called the horizontal gene transfer. Here, genes from plants got transferred over to the slug gene. And in particular, it was these genes that allow for repairing chloroplasts. And chloroplasts are the little things in plant cells that allow for photosynthesis. Well, the gene that repairs the chloroplasts, or at least one of the genes responsible for it, ended up in the slug's DNA. Okay, the slug can't manufacture its own chloroplasts, like plants could manufacture their own chloroplasts. But when this slug eats a certain algae that it eats, it's able to absorb the chloroplasts into its cells, and then this gene kicks in, and for up to 9 months, it can use that the chloroplasts that it ingests from the algae to keep it alive via photosynthesis. And then over evolution, this has to have happened long enough ago so this thing could evolve to look like a leaf, and it evolves to look like a leaf because it takes advantage of the chloroplasts. So it's nice and thin. and like a leaf. And of course, it's green because the chloroplasts are in its cells from eating the algae when it's young. And then it can live for 9 months just on solar power. But this is, I think, the only known example in the animal kingdom of at least of the solar-powered chloroplast, taking advantage of chloroplast. If this thing ever evolves to where it can manufacture its own chloroplasts like plants do, which it could, the fact the chloroplasts are the idea is that before trees evolved into becoming trees, were almost like a little bacteria thing that got involved, got sucked into some cells, and then the cells eventually just were able to sort of figure out a way to keep them there and then take advantage of them and then reproduce, and then you get food. And the same in the human cell, we get our energy from the mitochondria, and that's the thing, we only get it from our mother. We talked about this before, about the mitochondria. It's in the tail of the sperm. It comes from your father. Then when the sperm fertilizes the egg, the tail drops off outside the fertilized egg, so you don't pick up any mitochondria from the sperm. But the mitochondria in the tail keeps the tail moving, lets it swim. And then the mitochondria in our cells, that's what provides us all our energy as a multicellular animal, essentially, is the mitochondria. But that was at one point was probably some sort of invasive bacteria that ended up just becoming incorporated. And so this of course, the sea slug has the mitochondria, as animals do. But now it can take advantage of the chloroplast. So if it can ever figure out how to get the chloroplasts as part of itself, then it could be a sort of a hybrid animal plant. Or maybe it has to happen earlier in evolution. Our evolution kind of came from down these. There's a couple different lines. I mean, I shouldn't say there's just plants and animals. There's actually about, I don't know if I don't think they call them kingdoms anymore, but there's about 5 or 6. For a long time they said it was 3, but now it's up to about 5. Eukaryotes and prokaryotes and blah 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 blah. But it's possible that at some stage you could get a couple of these different energy factories into one living organism, so you could be a combination plant animal. So we could have aliens visiting that could be sort of plant-like animals. They get solar-powered energy and could evolve to have solar-powered energy and take their energy from eating food, like this slug does. But it's pretty interesting. Evolution's weird. It's weirder than we can imagine, I guess, is what it comes down to. Or anything we can imagine, it seems that the universe figures out a way to actually make it so, as long as it's just tangentially rooted in science. No, it has to be absolutely rooted in science. The universe only deals in natural things. But plant animals, living plants, I mean, I don't know what to call this thing. I mean, it's an animal because it doesn't manufacture its own chloroplasts. But it's on that cusp of something weird, something strange. And I don't know if it could ever evolve to manufacture its own chloroplasts. But it can certainly keep the chloroplasts alive that it can get into its cells. And that's a pretty big step. And there's medical uses for this. Come to our webpage, Random Thoughts with Random Access, our Facebook page. All these articles. Catch us on the Facebook, on the Twitter. Follow the RTWRE. You can see these articles. You can read the articles. I don't like to discuss about the articles. I'd much rather you read the articles, develop your own opinions, or your own thoughts, or learn. Don't watch me to try and learn something. I just like to discuss the ideas or what these things make me think about. Plus it's a cool picture.
It is a cool picture. It looks like a cross between a bull and a cabbage leaf.
Well, that's the back of his head, I think. Yeah, the eyes are out front there. Yeah, but yeah, it's something interesting. Very interesting. This is a story that we talked about a couple weeks ago. It was the Milgram experiment, and this was this. This is where they told these people, guys in white coats told these people, you have to administer shocks to these people because we're doing some sort of, it was like a memory experiment. We're trying to get them to memorize a list of words, and when they get a word wrong, you got to give them a shock. And the more words they get wrong, you got to give them more shocks. In doing this, the people were only exposed to one person. They didn't do it to a whole room full of people. They would be like, okay, we're going to bring the first person in for you, and then they only ever did it with the one person, and go up higher and higher and higher and higher with that person, and they did the same guy every time. So, but because they were the experiment, really, the people, how high would they turn it up? And it was supposed to be this study. It was soon after World War II. And it was how blindly will people follow orders from authorities. And one of the things that they came out of here is that people will blindly follow orders from anybody in authority or something like that. And if people are just basically evil, or I don't know, there's some conclusions. But for a long time, it kind of went that way. And now, recently, apparently, there's an article just this week, or maybe just into last week, in Atlantic Magazine, about rethinking this. And the one thing I thought was interesting is there was a great quote in here from one of the people. They said exactly what it was that I said on the show here a couple of weeks ago, which is something that I've been thinking about, been saying for a while whenever I talk about this, that this study isn't about people blindly, my personal opinion, the result isn't people blindly following orders. It's people who believe in the science. They believe that science is a worthy and noble endeavor. They trust that the scientists are scientists and understand the science, and they're just willing to help out. That when they were saying that we're trying to turn this thing up and we're trying to learn, if this person over there understands they're part of an experiment, you understand that you're part of an experiment. The experiment is we're going to try and test electric shocks on memories. If it's plausible or not, maybe it isn't. But people believe it and they bought into it. And but why they buy into it so easily? Well, it's a fairly noble goal. So maybe this study is not about people blindly following or even blindly listening to authority. It's about maybe people buying in to the objective, and how easily can they buy into the objective. I think buying into the objective of supporting scientific effort is pretty easy. Scientists have done a lot of crazy things over the years because they really, really believe what they're doing. And it's not hard to get people to fund their science. We spend billions of dollars a year on science in this country because we believe in science. The whole world spends billions and billions and billions of dollars on science because they believe in science. It's not hard to believe that people would be committed to helping out science. And as lay people, we don't know all the details. We have to trust that the experts do. So in some sense, we blindly follow the experts, the scientific experts, because we believe in science. And if you could sell whatever you're selling, you get people to believe in what you're doing, and maybe that's a trick, is you can get them to do evil things if you can get them to believe that what you're doing is right. And maybe that's a hard sell, especially if you're selling something like Nazism, if you're selling snake oil. But that's also probably why even today, Charles Manson, from the Manson murders in the 60s, he's got to be 70 years old or more, in prison, never getting out. He wants to get married, or he's getting married, some girl in her 20s. How does that happen? But even the girls who supported him during that time, they really, really believed what he was talking about and what he was selling, and they were willing to do, what we would say, from watching from the outside, extremely horrible things. And it's because they bought in, they believed, and when you think with your believing mind, you'll do anything, and that's why we have to try and be objective. And have all the facts, and challenge ourselves and challenge our leaders. With great power comes great responsibility. The scientists who are running this experiment had great responsibility. They're dealing with human beings and getting humans to do things that might be against their will in some sense, without the proper disclosure that you're lying to them, you're cheating to them. But maybe in this case it was, because it was an experiment, and for especially psychological experiments, there has to be that element of deception, because you don't want people to know exactly what you're doing when you're doing a psychological experiment on them, because you don't want them to game it. So you want to kind of let it play out a little bit. So there's just this element of great responsibility and great power, and but also there's this element of belief, and we have to challenge our beliefs and challenge the beliefs of our leaders. We have to believe that they understand what they're doing. We have to believe that they believe what they're doing, that they're not just doing it for political gain. Does Rand Paul, as a medical doctor, really believe that not vaccinating children for the measles is a good idea? Do you really think that's true? As a medical doctor, you think he really thinks that not vaccinating kids for measles is a good idea? Or is he just doing it for political gain because he knows what his supporters believe? So I'm just going to support what my supporters believe, rather than stand up and say, hey, y'all are fools. I'm a medical doctor. Listen to me on this. I went to medical school. I understand the science. kids need to be vaccinated for measles, unless
You would hope so.
So the best case for me is to think that he's lying to us when he says this, and even in that best case is a terrible case. Rand Paul is a terrible person. That's what it comes down to. There, I said it. He's a terrible person. Okay. I don't want to make this into a political show, but with great power comes great responsibility. And when politicians make politics out of science, something's wrong. And when scientists make politics out of science, it's even worse. And as a medical doctor, he kind of falls under the umbrella of scientist. He should know better. The man should know better. No excuses. No excuses. All right, so that's great. My great power, great responsibility. Twitter update. What could possibly go wrong? 954. They're dying off. I'm sure they're dying off.
Nothing's going wrong. It's going shoo.
And then somebody's going in and deleting their Twitter accounts. Yeah, it's just going down, going down. We should also maybe do like the tweet count. A little bit over 50,000, 51,000.
It's like the stocks, though. It's like the stock market. It's like you watch it go down, then you buy it going up.
So they'll probably go back up. I got faith. But you can get us a call, the feedback line. That's good in the U.S. and Canada. It's 15189-666-175. 3 to 5 on the weekends, 3 to 4 during the week, and every night 11 to midnight after the show. That's the feedback line, 15189-666-175. And I think that's it for tonight. I feel better. I don't know. Do you feel any better?
No.
Good night, everybody, and stay well.
Good night, folks.